So, hello everyone. So I'm Ruby Arya. I'm an ME graduate in computer science and engineering with 7 years of experience. Majorly, I worked as an assistant professor, and presently I'm associated with the Network Chef Group, taking the strategic initiative and driving the mission, and also driving skill development program for the institution. And for today's session, I'll be the moderator. So moving on to giving a brief description about our organization, the Network Chef. As you can see, the Network Chef was incepted in the year 2017. The Network Chef help in enhancing the business operations and also help business to a new digital infrastructure requirement. Our key services are, as you can see, cybersecurity consulting, digital infra solution, business analytic consulting, and managed services. One of the key milestones that we achieved in 2018 was, I think everyone is muted. Okay. So one of the key milestones we achieved in 2018 was a major tie-up with for solution consulting with Cisco, Dell EMC, Microsoft, and AT&T. And in the same year, we also successfully started our Skill Development and Training Center, Institute of Technology, to empower workforce in meeting the complex business requirement. And in the year 2019, we also extended our arms overseas. In the Network Chef, we believe technology helps you achieve great things in the digital age. Now, moving to today's discussion. So our today's discussion focuses on artificial intelligence, analytics, and cybersecurity. Though acquiring skills in these fields are going to be critical for new professionals, it is very important to understand that there is a project 4 million jobs in these fields in next 2 to 3 years in our country. So our today's webinar will help you to understand the opportunities in these fields. And as we know that our IT industry is going through the fourth revolution, now the corporates have started looking for new workforce with new roles such as data science engineers, CISO, cloud architect, and security analyst. Not only that, they've also started upskilling their existing workforce. So today's webinar will give you idea about these new roles and will also help you give you a career roadmap in these fields. Now the agenda or flow of today's session. So it will be like we'll be starting with the first session, which will be focusing on the analytics and AI, followed by cybersecurity, and at last Q&A session. So if anyone has any doubt or question, you can just make a note of it so that at the end of the session, in the Q&A session, you can ask to our speakers and we'll give you an opportunity to interact with our speakers. Now, it is time to introduce our respectable speaker of today's session. So first, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Tuhin. Dr. Tuhin is the founder and CEO of Tuhin AI Advisory. Dr. Tuhin has 20 years of experience in academia and industry, delivering analytic solutions to organizations across USA, Europe, Australia, Africa, and Southeast Asia. He has been featured and honored with many awards. Few of them. In 2016, Dr. Tuhin was awarded as India's top 10 data scientist by Analytics India magazine. In 2017, he was awarded with Analytics and Insight Leader of the Year. He was also awarded with Artificial Intelligence Leader of the Year in 2018 and CTU of the Year in 2019. Dr. Tuhin was also a keynote speaker in various international conferences. He is a jury data member of data science competition across Europe and USA. He has more than 30 publications in international journals and conferences and authorized many books. and he is also an editor-in-chief of International Journal of Business Analytics and Intelligence. So this was about our first respectable speaker, Dr. Tuvin. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of this session. Now, it is time to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Deepte Shah. Mr. Deepte Shah is presently heading the Cybersecurity Ensure Services Reddington Group. He has 15 plus years of experience in handling network and security consulting and professional services. He has been the architect of setting up Security Operations Center for organization. In 2019, his business has been featured and awarded as 10 most promising enterprise security service provider of the year by CIO. He has delivered more than 200 sessions to corporate and colleges out of his own interest in sharing his knowledge and learnings. He has been the mentor of the Network Chef group and also is an active member of ISACA Chennai chapter. With this, I will also welcome our second speaker, Mr. Deepte Shah. Start the session. That is the first session, which focuses on analytics and AI. For this, I will hand over the session to Dr. Tuhi.
Thank you so much, Ruby, and I deeply appreciate the kind of introduction you have made. I'm deeply obliged, and many thanks, Deeptesh, for inviting me for this webinar. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to all the participants here who found some time out of their busy schedule and joined this webinar. Before diving deep to the different career opportunities in analytics and AI, let me first introduce you what this analytics is all about, what this AI all about, and then I shall subsequently go into the different career opportunities and the prerequisites to join this kind of programs. So you must be knowing that business intelligence is not something very new, and we are doing those kind of works, kind of generating standard reports, ad hoc reports from quite some time. We are defining that what's going on in the market, what kind of sales is taking place, who are the different salespersons, what kind of business they are doing. So that's the kind of business intelligence which was there in the market for decades, I guess. Yeah. And then we slowly moved to the business analytics part. We evolved to business analytics, where we are doing a lot of forecasting. We do the predictive modeling. Forecasting includes the sales forecasting, demand forecasting. That means we are visioning that what is going to happen in the future. And in the predictive modeling part, what we do, we try to figure out the impact of the different factors on a particular phenomena. Phenomena can be sales, for instance. So what's the impact of the, say, the Facebook ads, YouTube ads, the different kinds of promotions, the different kinds of prices on the sales? And that's the kind of predictive modeling we do. And optimization comes to play when we want to maximize the sales or minimize our losses, but we have got several constraints, and we work the entire business houses, the business phenomena works under several constraints. And when we try to model the constraints and try to maximize the sales, such kind of work comes under the optimization. So this entire portfolio that starts from the statistical analysis, forecasting, predictive modeling, and optimization, that comes under the umbrella of business analytics. So that's the evolution from our traditional business intelligence, market research to a business analytics, which is pretty futuristic in nature. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I was exactly discussing this part. The basic or the very fundamental one is about the descriptive one, where we are discussing the standard reporting part. That is what happened. That means what's the sales, what is the quantity of the sales, who has made the sales, what are the sales of the different stores in a particular territory. That's exactly what's happening in the market. Then we move to the next level of predictive analytics. What that's all about. Don't go to the next slide. Please come back. Yeah. Go to the next level of predictive analytics, which includes the alerts, the simulation, the forecasting. Like we are trying to predict or we are trying to visualize what is going to happen in the market. So what will happen next if, say, for example, if the price drops or if the price increases, how will it leave an impact on the sales? So that's the kind of predictive modeling we develop. And the last or the final part is about the prescriptive analytics, where we try to figure out that how can you achieve the best outcome given certain constraints or given certain restrictions. where we apply the different linear programming techniques, integer programming techniques, even sometimes the genetic algorithms or the swarm optimization techniques. So that's the three layers of the descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. Yeah, next slide, please. So here I'm going to discuss with you about the steps of the data science projects, about what the kind of tasks that needs to be done. And that has a kind of importance in our whole discussion. Why it is important? You will understand that the similar skills are not required for the different steps of the project. So from that perspective, it's important to understand the tasks. Say, for instance, the first task, first step, or the first task is about the business understanding. Now, this has got nothing much to do with the modeling part. So folks who will work in this kind of scenario about the business understanding part, perhaps their domain knowledge skills are more important than the statistics or mathematics skills. So we will discuss this part in detail in my subsequent slides, but this is just to give you an overview about what are the steps. Like, it starts with the business understanding. Then the next step is about the data mining, where we gather the data, collect the data, script the necessary data for the project. Then we clean the data in the third step. We explore to form the hypothesis. Then we do the feature engineering. Again, a very important part. What we do here is that we try to create the new variables which are more meaningful given the particular business or given the particular project, and creating the new variables come from the existing variables that are given. Then comes that means at the sixth step only, we sometimes think that the predictive modeling is the be all end all scenario, but that's not like that. It comes only at the sixth step. So you can imagine that so many tasks needs to be done before arriving here. The predictive modeling part, though, that's the heart of the problem, but there are a lot of other activities that precedes it and that follows this predictive modeling part. And when I'm saying predictive modeling, it is not only just about the model development part, it is also about the model validation. And finally, it's about presenting your model, presenting the outcome by dint of data visualization. So that's the kind of complete story. And we will see subsequently that for each of these parts or each of these tasks, each of these steps, the skill requirements are different. And when I say skill requirements are different, it also means that the career path are different for each of these. So yeah, let's move. Yeah. So this is all about again giving a kind of overview about the artificial intelligence. What happens in artificial intelligence in the sense that we do a lot of image or video analytics. We do a lot of speech mining. I must mention here that when I say speech mining, it is not only about natural language processing. It is not only about the text mining. We also do a lot of intonation mining to understand about the customer service performance, to understand how the product or the service that has been positioned has been taken or understood by the market or perceived by the market. So speech mining is much more advanced than the natural language processing or the text mining, where we just play with the words on the sentences. Uh, in the words of sentences, we do a lot of sentiment mining or sentiment analytics, but that doesn't tell you exactly about the phonetics, tone, buzzword search, or even the intonation. And coming to the image or video analytics, that's a part of the recent development of deep learning, where convolutional neural network plays a very critical role in the deep learning part. And we do a lot of image analysis, event analysis, where we figure out or classify. As you can see the image here at the bottom, we are applying the convolutional neural network along with ReLU to figure out whether the image is a kind of car, truck, van, or bicycle. So that's the kind of image classification. We do the same thing for video analytics as well. So whenever a person is moving, we can figure out that whether it's a kind of, first of all, it's a human being or not. And then a lot of deep dive analytics goes, like we figure out even the attitude of the person, what's the motion of the person, what's the location. So a lot of object motion, style detection, location detection takes place, which gives a lot of insight for several applications. It can be from ranges from the security to a lot of content analysis, which we do for the online platforms. So that's the kind of brief overview about the artificial intelligence part. Let's move. Yeah. So this is about the career opportunities. Now you will understand what I was trying to say in my previous slide. where I was trying to walk you through the different tasks. So you can clearly see here that there are three distinct groups. The groups are business stakeholder, data scientist, and the data engineer. Now, all those three folks or the three groups or the three segments join hands to make the data science project a successful one. But the kind of skill sets required or the careers for career profile, career path for these three skill sets are very different. Say, for instance, a data scientist needs to master the core skills are the coding languages like Python, R. It requires the knowledge of distributed computing, machine and deep learning, feature engineering and predictive modeling, statistics and maths, the storytelling to some extent, and the visualization. So that's the core skills of a data scientist. Whereas the person who is going the pre-sales work, for instance, or doing the kind of account management or client handling, he is a kind of business stakeholder. And for that purpose, a person what's required are very different. Like that person needs to think through ROI, NPV, the domain expertise, the value chains, financial analysis. So a lot of critical thinking, business intelligence, storytelling, the data stewardship, data management, communicating the findings. Those things are much more important for a business guy who again is an integral part of the analytics projects. And the data engineers again come with a very different skill sets. Say, for instance, initially a lot of ETL work is required to bring the data to the model. So they help in developing the ETL tools, the database systems, the Hadoop ecosystem, the developing the data APIs, data warehousing. So working with unstructured data. So they primarily do the collecting, managing, analyzing, and build, deploy the infrastructure architecture. So for instance, once the model gets developed, the model needs to be deployed at the client's server. So in such scenarios, the data engineers plays a critical role. So that's how you can see that even if it is only one word analytics or one word artificial intelligence, but how the different streams emerge from the different stacks or the different scenarios within the analytics projects. We will take it. This is a very interesting slide. I'm sure many of you have or might have different kind of questions. I shall glad to answer or clarify this thing better if it is still completely not clear. Yeah, next slide, please. Now, the basic fundamental question is that are you made for analytics? That's a very, very, very important question. Let's not go with the kind of flow because analytics is the buzzword. Everybody is pursuing analytics. Let me also be a kind of artificial intelligence professional. It sounds cool. I understand it sounds cool, but that will not give you the happiness in the long run unless you judge yourself that you are really made for that particular profession. So ask yourself that do you really love numbers? Are you really passionate about numbers? Do you see numbers everywhere? Do you really have a research bent of mind? Why something is happening? Are you really that curious? Do you have that? Do you nurture, not only have, do you nurture the intellectual curiosity to the different aspects of life? It is not only about your studies. Suppose you are watching a cricket match. Why a particular bowler is bowling in a particular way, or why the fielding is in a particular way? That's the kind of the intellectual curiosity one can generate, or the analytical thinking one can have, even if it is something very different from the studies. And you have the problem solving ability. So even if it is something again nothing to do with the studies as such, but something given to you and you perhaps have got not much clue, but still can you do some kind of quick fix and solve it, accomplish the challenge? So that's the kind of, are you made for those kind of things? If yes, if you really have that in you, then developing the skill sets won't be a major challenge. But these are some kind of more fundamental things which are which one should what which one cannot difficult because they are integral to your character, that integral to your personality. You can learn a coding language like R, Python. You can learn mathematics, statistics, but you cannot learn how to love numbers. That has to be with you, right? So that's what I would like to pinpoint here. So that you should be thoroughly clear. Are you made for analytics or not? Yeah, let's move to the next slide. Now, the data scientist must have skills. So once you're very sure, yes, I am made for analytics. I am the future data scientist. I can do wonder in artificial intelligence. Then the questions comes about acquiring the skills. Acquiring the skills includes the mathematics and statistics. You should have a sound or decent understanding of the statistical algorithms or how the statistical science. If you are not from a mathematics or statistics background, and then you must, have a very basic understanding. Fundamentals should be very clear. Then the other part is the programming and database. So you should have the coding skills. That's again a kind of must-have skill. You should be comfortable with at least a couple of languages like R and Python. Other than it would be good if you can also develop your hands in this Spark, Scala, or any of the licensed software like SAS or SQL. So that's the programming and database part. Uh, again, the other integral part which goes hand in hand with maths and programming is the domain knowledge. So you have to understand its business analytics. So you have to understand where the analytics gets applied, where the analytics gets implemented, and it helps in generating or churning the value for the client. So you need to understand the domain knowledge. Let's say, for instance, you are developing a model for the automobile sector. So you need to understand why people purchase auto, or what are the key factors in making an auto sales happen, or it can be for the pharmaceutical. So it can be across multiple sectors, multiple verticals, and you are supposed to know at least some basic business understanding of the different verticals, different functional areas. So that's a very important requirement about the business knowledge, business understanding of the data science part. And finally, it is you have to have that communication and the visualization skill. So what does that mean? It is good that if you have the modeling skill, but it is definitely not sufficient just to have the modeling skills. You can be a very good statistician, very good coder, but that doesn't make you a very good data scientist. So as I say, that it's a necessary skill to learn coding, but that's not sufficient. It is necessary to learn statistics to be a data scientist, but that's not sufficient. You need to tell it as a story. See, you have to understand one thing, that the business guys who are running the business, they might not have that solid statistics or mathematics knowledge. They might not be interested about your code. That's quite possible, because they, at the end of the day, what matters to them is that are you adding significant value to the business? That's what it's all about. So you have to communicate your analytics, your models, your codes into their language. That is the storytelling skills. So you have to clearly explain that, yes, look, even if you can't appreciate my models, but this is how it helps in generating the revenue, or it helps in curbing the cost. So that's the kind of beauty you have to bring into your storytelling exercise. And of course, for that purpose also, you need to learn certain software like the dashboarding software like Tableau, or even it can be Power BI, or any other software you are comfortable with. Yeah, next slide, please. So how we make you ready? So you understood, that's how my story goes. I initially made you understood about what analytics and AI is. After that, I made you understand that what kind of tasks are there, what kind of steps are there within data science. I also made you understand that within the data science spectrum, within the area of data science, what are the different kind of careers emerge, and what kind of tasks one need to do, what kind of soft skills and what kind of hard skills one need to develop to be a good data scientist. Now, the last but not the least is that how we make you ready, what kind of role we play in helping you nurturing and developing these skills. So for that purpose, I break all the courses, the analytics courses, into three groups or three segments. The first one is about AI, ML analytics, NLP fundamental courses. So like AI, ML primer, ML cloud, how you can make it, say, deploy a model into Azure, or deploy a model into AWS or Google Cloud, or even run the models. Everything is done nowadays in the cloud. So how you can, it is again necessary but not sufficient just to learn the statistical coding through R or Python. It should talk to cloud. So how to manage that part, the data management and the dedicated course for Python or AI NLP. Then we have got the vertical analytics training course, like industry wise. It can be auto analytics, retail analytics, telecom analytics, actuarial analytics, manufacturing analytics. And we also have the horizontal training course. Suppose somebody is interested only about marketing, only about human resource. So we can teach them a lot of marketing analytics techniques. like marketing mix modeling, the pricing analytics, the churn or the retention analytics. We can teach the market basket analysis. We can teach what kind of pricing optimization that take place. We can discuss about the customer segmentation. So all these details of the course outline are available in my website tuhin.ai. You have to just go to the homepage and download the training brochure. It's there. Or you can also coordinate with Deeptesh or Ruby, and they can also help you out in figuring out the course outline, give you the details. Thank you so much. So I'm handing it over to Ruby to take it forward.
Sir. Now we'll move on to the next session that focuses on cybersecurity. For that, I hand over the session to Mr. Deeptesh. Sir, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ruby. And thanks, Dr. Tuhin, for that wonderful session. So it really gives an insight about analytics and AI. So now let's move into with AI and analytics. It's very important. Security is one of the very important topic. And so while we move into security, so let's see some facts and figures. Okay, so on your screen, the figures, what you are seeing, it's a bit old, but let me give you updated data. So today, if you see, we are a 130 crore plus population. And very interestingly, if you see the internet users, okay, it's precisely by 2019 data, it's around 566 million of internet users are there. So I will just hold on. Someone is has to go on mute. Okay, so 1 minute.
I request everyone to put on mute.
I think someone who is has logged in as HP. I'm muting you because that is where the disturbance coming in. Yep.
Request to all participants, please put your on mute.
I request you for force muting participants, please. Yeah.
Okay. Just a minute because it's in. Okay. Okay. So sorry guys. So just I will continue. Okay. So what I was discussing that if you see the today internet user are around 566 million. And very interestingly, the fact, if you see that this 566 million is driven by the rural internet, which is almost 290 million, which is only rural internet connectivity. And further, if you see the data here, and if we want to see what are the type of mobile subscriptions are there as on 2019, we see around 1.6 billion mobile subscriptions are there till the end of 2019. And then coming to the below facts, now what are the type of devices, okay, apart from mobile? So if we really take the percentage out of it, the people, today's youth, okay, those who are accessing the web, okay, mostly 56% are accessing from laptop and desktop, and almost 42% are accessing from, again, mobility devices, okay, and tablets. So that is really, so that is the change today we are talking about, and that is where the transformation comes into. So if you see the transformation, so when so much of data is available with us, okay, so definitely there has to be a transformation in place, and that is what we call in a true sense a digital transformation. So there are four aspect of digital transformation, which is a very strategic priorities when it comes to IT. So the first one, you can see that we cannot go with the traditional data centers. So we need to modernize our data centers. We need to upgrade our data centers. So there are different parameters, okay, and there are different data centers versions are there. So we take accordingly and upgrade our data centers. Now, the second point is integrating the public cloud. So now how do we do that? Now with so much of data available today, if we use all in-house data centers, so that is something which will be a real costly affair for any organization. So what we started doing last 4 to 5 years before, first we started moving our non-critical data into cloud. And once we got that confidence, okay, as an organization or as a business, we now started moving our critical data as well onto clouds. But the very important factor which remains here is how do we integrate the public cloud and all these private and public clouds. So that is something which is very, very important. And obviously, it also helps when you move into the cloud. So you move out from a CapEx to OpEx model. And that is something organizations are looking for. And the third part is the empowering the digital workforces. So obviously, you have seen in the facts that today, when we talk about organization, it is not only that they are stuck as an endpoint in terms of a desktop or a laptop. Today, most of the many organizations, including startups, are encouraging to come to give employee to come with their own device. So something which you all might be knowing, the BYOD policy. So many organizations today have BYOD policies, and many of them are, so that what happen is you do save lot of capex cost. At the same time, you give lot of benefit and empower people to access the data from their devices from anywhere and anytime. So that is very, very important. And finally, when we are talking about modernizing the data centers, we are talking about integrating public clouds and putting the data onto clouds, empowering people to use digital workspaces. Then obviously the thing which comes into top of the mind is security. And if you see the security today, the traditional security, which was more in terms of infrastructure security. So how do we the okay, and those who are accessing only from desktops, so how do we secure those? But today it is not limited to a endpoint only, okay, and the type of endpoint has been different, and also the the way you access the information has also changed. So definitely there has been a huge change in terms of how do we look in terms of the overall security. So uh, which this slide exactly speaks about, okay, that what is all about security and what is cyber security and what are the key modules in terms of cyber security. Because when we understand the modules and what are the different cyber security modules we are talking about, then only we will be able to know that what is required, what skills are required today in the industry, which will help us to scale up for the next 5 to 10 years timeline. So, so when it comes to cyber security, so most of you earlier might have heard that about computer security. So initially the term was computer security. And when we talk about computer security, it is we are talking about just securing that particular endpoint. But over the years, last 5 years, we have evolved. And as you have seen, there is so much of transformation is happening, and internet has reached into the villages and every nook and corner of the country. So obviously there has been a lot of data. So obviously when it comes to so much of information in the form of data, so any organization or government, they have a primary thing in mind, that how do we secure those information? And that is where the information security comes into place. And definitely you have heard Dr. Tween was talking about analytics. So when it comes to data, okay, how do we have a meaningful data? That is also very, very important. And that is where the analytics play a lot of role. And then we now, last 5 to 6 years, we are hearing more. Cyber security was always there, but because of the print media or all electronic media, we are hearing this term a lot. So cybersecurity, when we talk about, it is about web. So if you see today, most of us, either we use lot of web application or a web application or a mobile application we are using, and we are accessing, downloading a lot of files, okay, or going into lot of application. So that is where, how do we secure those? But there is a fundamental difference between information security and cyber security. So many people, they do come and ask today, so what they feel that information security and cyber security is all same. But if you ask me, when it comes to information security, it is about the triple CIA, which we talk about. It is all about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So how do we make sure that the data is confidential, and we maintain the integrity of data and make sure that the data is always available to us? And that is what we call about information security. But when it comes to cyber security, it is more than that. While it is also about protecting the data, it is also about integrity and availability. But beyond that, it also talks about the set of processes and the resources and the technology. So we call it as a people, process, and technology, which we adopt, okay, as a part of a cyber security practice. So that is how information security is specific to how we secure the information. But when it comes to cyber security, it has a larger role to play. So obviously, when we were talking about CIA. So confidentially, those who are, I see a lot of students are here in this session. So just for them, their sake. So CIA is all about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality is nothing but preventing from any unauthorized access. And when we talk about integrity, it is about preventing from any unauthorized modification, so that whatever the data, in the form the data is available, it should be there in the same form, so there should not be any change. And finally, the availability, so which we also talk as a uptime. So when the services are available 99.9%, so that is where we try to prevent from denial of service and other kinds of attacks. So these are the three very key and deep rooted fundamentals, okay, when it comes to security. Now, let's see what are the 10 modules of cybersecurity. So if you want to classify, okay, and segment this, okay, we see there are 10 modules. So the first one, which is very important and very closely associated with the part of cybersecurity, is information security and risk management. So that is one. Second, we also with that very closely associated, and when we were talking about CIA, okay, so access control is one of the major part when it comes to CIA. The third is the security architecture and design. And to follow it is the cryptography. So how we do all the hashing algorithm, how we encrypt the data. So that is all, we have cryptography. Then comes the network security, which is more to do with the infrastructure and data center asset security. And then we have application security. So application security is most of the organization, either is a private or a government. Today we all are prone to using apps. So if you see any of your mobile, maybe you're running tens and 15 number of apps. Now when it comes to when we access those apps, how do we make sure those apps, when they are developed, they have a proper security code inbuilt in those application? At the same time, we should also make sure once it has been proper, all the security are inbuilt. After that, we should see from the time to time whatever the updates, okay, are coming in. So whether we are taking those updates or not. So that is something which we analyze, okay, as a part of the application security. And finally, very, very important part, which connects all, is the legal and regulation and the compliance part of it. So any organization, they have a business compliance requirement. So all the measures, okay, or all the initiatives what we take is all about how we build a business compliance, so that as an organization we can achieve the goal. And The other important part is physical and environmental security, which comes into the safety and security. And then the next part is the business continuity planning, which is the one part I feel, okay, of this overall gambit of security solution and the objectives. And finally, the operational security, which is the driving force of this entire engine. So now what it does, so when we talk about this security modules, one thing which is very important, any organization, they should have a security strategy in place. And this security strategy, based on the security strategy, they will have the controls which will be implemented. And once the control will be implemented, we need to only evaluate the risk, okay, and do a risk assessment and see to what level or the what extent of risk an organization can take, and what can be the impact of those risks. So these things, so the finally where all these three things are very critical when it comes to us handling the cyber security strategy. So now let me come into more in terms of security management, administration, and governance. And why I have I thought of touching this topic is because the next thing is when we move into the career opportunities and discussion, I will connect it with how in the organization we work today and what are the workforce which we are looking for. Okay, so that is the reason this slide is there. So when we talk about security management, administration, and governance, it speaks about everything. Okay, so first thing which is very important, which I was just telling you, that it is very important for us to have a strategy in place. Once we have a strategy in place, okay, so then only we will have the information security management controls, okay, that will be planned as per the strategy. And once the control is finalized, we make sure what are the risk to this asset, which will be calculated as a part of risk assessment program, and what kind of threats. And when we do a further analysis, we also look into the threats related to these assets. So what kind of unwanted events occur, okay, if events has occurred, how many times it has occurred, and what has been the damage, either it has been in terms of reputational loss or it has been a revenue loss for the organization. So all the things at a larger level, at a strategic level, we look for. And to drive those points in terms of infrastructure activities, vulnerabilities. So we also look into how susceptible we are in terms of assets we have an attack, and finally creating the impact analysis, which I was just discussing. Okay, that what is the magnitude of the potential loss or the seriousness of the event. So that is where the entire gamut of security management, administration, and governance comes. So governance, so once we have a process and control in place, then only we make sure that the governance come into place, and we monitor, and based on the results, okay, the analysis, we do a impact analysis and risk assessment. Now, coming to the very important topic, and which is the core of our today's discussion, that what is the career path we all need to know if we want to be in cyber security. Now that we have understanding about that, what is about cyber security, what are the key things when it comes to compliance or a security administration, okay, or audit. So definitely what are the career opportunities available to us. So now let me tell you, okay, so if any of you reminds us about the good old days when finding jobs was easier, so I don't know how many of you feel so, but definitely if you ask me, I feel that earlier days finding a job was easier. Okay, if you probably during the 2010 2016, okay, during that period, if you see, India has one of the highest rate of job creation in the organized space. Okay, and according to the Manpower Group survey, which I was just going, I gone through, 2017 and 19, okay, had a lowest employee hiring optimism. So that was there. But very, very important thing is, if you look, none of the employers is looking to reduce the headcount, but what they are looking rather is how they can upskill or they can bring in the new skill so that they can meet the future workforce requirement. And when the entire country is talking about digital transformation, and I also told you that what are the digital transformation we are looking for. So definitely in every space, either you call about AI, analytics, you call about cloud, you call about cyber security, you talk about infrastructure, all of them require a upskilled workforce. So that is where I feel the difference will be in the next 3 to 5 years. So definitely, if you ask me, I still find a lot of optimism, and we feel that there are a lot of opportunity will be available for the people who make sure that they are up to what is required for the future workforce. So now let's look into some data, okay, into cyber security jobs. So some of these data are self-explainable, so you can just go through. But some of the key points which I have taken it from this is, if you see last few years, okay, salaries for the top cyber security guys have increased, okay, almost 25 to 35%. Okay, and trust me, if you ask me personally, okay, getting right set of skilled people is really tough, okay, in cyber security, because most of the people, okay, those who come into cyber securities, they probably either has worked into a traditional network security space or with some background, and then over a period of time, okay, they have skilled. But it is also very important that organization has a right kind of infrastructure and the process to actually train these people and upskill. So that is where the problem lies. So definitely, whenever we find a good resource, definitely we are ready to pay a minimum good amount of salary to those people, those who are really worth. Second thing is, as we all see in the news each and every day, that hacking or a cyber attacks has been very high. And now with this COVID-19, people working from home, okay, so it is very high chance of cyber crime, and we are seeing every alternate day something or other is coming in the news. So definitely, when it comes to compensation, many of you might have query, and the numbers you are seeing, okay, maybe it doesn't speak about the mass, the compensation I am talking about. But what the message I am trying to give you here is, if you start building your cyber security career, then down the line, 4 to 5 years to 10 years timeline, okay, you will be able to reach anywhere. And why I am telling this is because today cyber security is not just a job role, it is a part of a company board strategic requirement. So the leader who is representing the company in terms of cyber security, and he reports to the board directly, and they discuss about what will be the strategy, what will be the risk for the company if they are into business, certain kind of business. It can be any segment they can be. So that is where the demand lies. And when you take a gradual approach, okay, so you can get a very quick growth compared to what you see in the traditional IT jobs, what were there last 5 to 6 years. So that is where I feel that definitely there are a lot of opportunities in cybersecurity, and this slide actually should motivate all of us that there is a huge scope in this field. Now, let me tell you, this slide I have taken from, let me give you an example. If you ask me as an individual heading a cyber security division, what kind of people I look for. So for doing that, let us see that what kind of portfolio we are talking about. Now, let's take an example. I am a cyber security consultant and service provider, and we have three set of services which we provide to customers. For example, the first one, when you have seen my slide, I talked about security administration and management. So we have set of services, which is a SOC services, which we call it as a security operations center. So in the security operations center, there are few set of activities which we do. The first thing which we do is the incident response remediation. And if you see also the RBI guidelines, they have in 2017, they have a complete cyber security framework. And this two components, which is a SOC service and assessment and compliance, goes hand in hand. So in the SOC services, incident response remediation, threat intelligence, behavior monitoring, file integrity, all those stuffs we do. Now, your question, now why I'm telling this is because all this activity requires certain amount of skill set and certain level of technical expertise. So when we go into the subsequent slide, we will see what kind of job roles are available who can handle this kind of work. Then we come into assessment and compliance. So I was discussing with you that every company has a business compliance requirement, and for the business compliance they has to have an audit and certain compliance certification in place to run the business. So some of them we talk about the vulnerability assessment and penetration is part of the infrastructure assessment in terms of finding the vulnerabilities and confirming those. Then when it comes to the e-commerce portal of business, we have a PCI DSS compliance, a payment card industry, those who are into credit card business and transactions, they use this. Then you have a ISO, a different level of ISO certification, ISO 27001, 2013, 20002. So different level of ISO certifications are there to get secure that so that you can manage the security management properly in your organization. And then finally comes into the system assurance services, which is I was talking about your application review, your risk assessment, your analytics part of it. So these are the kind of services when we offer, obviously we look for certain kind of resources. Now, so now let's see into the next slide that what are the kind of resources who can actually handle this kind of skill set. So if you take the slide, earlier slide, if we want to further drill down, we have a three tier of SOC tier. So as a tier one, what we do, it is purely a monitoring and management where analysts will work on and accessing the incident reports and tickets and working on the basic investigation and mitigation. Then you have a tier two, which is a very deep dive investigation, and we create a cert report and giving a final mitigation and recommendation changes. And then we have the tier three, those who work on a strategic how we can minimize the incident, what are the advanced investigation, what are the threat hunting mechanism, forensics, counterintelligence, malware reversals. So these are the very critical strategy we take so that we can handle the overall overall vulnerabilities or overall have a good, healthy and secure infrastructure in place. So now comes to the job role in cybersecurity, and that is where most of you would like to also know. Now that I have told you what kind of when this kind of services are in offering, either it can be a service provider or it can be organization who is handling their cybersecurity in-house. Okay, so definitely they also require, if not all, but some of these resources, some part they can always outsource, and some of the resources they can bring in, because trust me, cyber security professionals are expensive. Okay, because there is a dearth of resources. So the first thing which comes into, there are a few things. We have a cyber security analyst position where he is responsible for both managing the company network and data, and at the same time he will also work on an ongoing security measure in terms of, and will be responsible for all the security breaches. So that is where the security and cyber security analyst comes into a role. And then you have a security engineer who typically work for the security strategy and mostly for the network and infrastructure part of it. So he will look into the documentation and the security posture, and at the same time he will support the team in terms of the infrastructure side. And then we also have a position called security consultant. So this security consultant can be two type. One is a technical security consultant. Okay, definitely somewhere we hired them in terms of driving the overall. If we don't have a full-time CISO inside the organization, we can hire security consultant to drive certain compliance requirement, okay, on a contractual basis, and we can create a complete cyber security strategy. So security consultant can be a full-time, on also can be on a contract basis. Then the starting we these are the certification. Okay, so what we feel is certification is also very important. So you get in many of the organization, you will see the initial which is required is the certified ethical hacker, because they are the guys who does the vulnerability testing, and then they do the pen tester. Now, why I have kept the pen tester separately from the certified ethical hacker is certain case in terms of application security testing or a mobile application security testing, you require a separate kind of pen tester skill set, which may be a bit different from a traditional network or a infrastructure a vulnerability testing or a pen tester guy. So that is where a separate profile, it all depends upon what kind of roles and what kind of business particular organization is looking for. So, and then finally we the advanced threat analyst. So their job is only to monitor, okay, what kind of threats, okay, and advanced threat mechanisms are there, and how, and preparing a report and helping the senior leadership team to understand in terms of the technical defense capabilities company has adopted. So that comes into, and finally the critical few roles, okay, which information security analyst again is same as cyber security analyst, but he is one part of the team where he works on the attack. So some of this designation, again, what all you're seeing may vary from organization to organization, okay, but predominantly these are the terms, if you see, are mostly used all around 90% of the organization. So some of the key certification, if you look like, okay, I talked about compliance. So when you want to become a compliance engineer, okay, so obviously there is a CISA certification, Certified Information Security Auditor. Then CISM is there. If you want to become a SOC manager, okay, you can become a CISM certified. Yeah, you want to become a consultant at the same time, a very deep dive into technical, you can be a CISSP. These are advanced certifications, okay, someone can pursue. So my suggestion is, so we should take a step-by-step approach. It is not you can always take any certification at any time, that doesn't matter, but what it also equally important is we get a hands-on experience, and with that we do certification. So that makes a lot of sense, and when we do that certification, it helps us to also understand, okay, understand and experiences what we have learned from our on-job training. So that is where we should take the certification. So our guideline will be, we should go with the initial level of certification and then move into the advanced level certification. And finally, we can see the Chief Information Security Officer, as I was telling you, some of the organization who want to have a in-house, okay, information security officer. He will be the responsible to create the overall strategy planning and making sure that the security objectives has been met. So, and many organizations have them. Many organization, those who don't have, they outsource it to the third party service providers, or they hire a security consultant, as I told you. So I think with this, okay, I have quickly tried to cover most of the things which is associated today in terms of the rules, okay, roles which we have in cyber security, and how these job roles fit into a service provider, where the services, I have given you example about what kind of services organization offer and what kind of job role matches to it, and which help you, I hope, which has helped you to get some insight about the overall understanding that if we are looking to create a cyber security career, how we should go about it, and what are the certifications we should take, and what are the job opportunity or the rules and responsibilities available today in the industry. So I thank everyone from my side. Okay, and Ruby, over to you. I am done. We can open the Q&A session.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving us deep information on cybersecurity, tools, and opportunities. Now, as we have reached to the end of the session, that is our Q&A session. So, if there is any question to us, please unmute and you can ask your speaker. So, I have received few questions from our participants. So, I'll just read out on behalf of them. So, the first question is, where I can see myself in 10 years if I start a career in analytics now. So I think this question.
Well, I think it's a bit early to think about the 10 years, but definitely I can give you a kind of vision. You must be knowing that today's world, it's not about the CTO only. There are chief digital officer, there are chief information officer, and there are chief analytics officer. So definitely, if you really work hard and make yourself a name in the industry, you develop a few products across analytics, add significant revenue, and add value to your organization by dint of revenue, by dint of your analytics services and AI. We definitely you can be a chief analytics officer, and that's quite a designation, I must say, which is valued across the globe. And there are not many chief analytics officer, but those who really acquired the designation with real work. They are much valued, appreciated, and respected across the industry.
I have one more question from our participants. So it is like I'm absolutely new to analytics. So which course should I take?
Okay. So we are launching a course about the very basics or fundamentals of machine learning and analytics. So that should be the course one should pursue if you are completely new to this area. And we cover all the basics like precursor to machine learning, which includes the elementary statistics, advanced descriptive statistics, the introduction to Python, basics of R, basic programming with R, and we do the some basic statistical techniques like the general linear regression models. We teach you how to handle the data, including the machine data, the outlier handling. Machine learning techniques that we taught into the course includes the decision tree, random forest, logistic regression, SVM, or the support vector machines. The classification algorithms are the k-means clusters, the k-nearest neighbor. So these are the machine learning techniques. And finally, we do the AI or the artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and natural language generation. So those basics are also been covered. It should be a good start. This course, could you please unmute yourself? HP, HP, please unmute yourself.
User HP to unmute. Sorry, mute.
Yeah, it's done. So yeah, the course spans for 80 hours. So all the different aspects that I just discussed are been will be discussed and taught with complete time. There will be won't be any kind of hurry. It's not that what has been taught is not been understood because the course has to be completed within say 20 hours, 40 hours, nothing like that. And the beauty of the course is that we bring a lot of industry data into the course. So all the techniques, what I mentioned about the different machine learning techniques, AI techniques, the NLP, NLG techniques, all the techniques are being taught with the real life use cases where the real data from the industry are being brought to the classes and students solve them so that they actually they kind of get a kind of mock real life scenarios they get and they actually solve the real life problems. So that's the beauty of the course. Feel free to contact either me or Deeptesh for this course. Yeah.
We have one more question from Nikul. So he's saying like I'm an entrepreneur. I would like to ask what are possible business model for any analytics focused company?
There cannot be, it is not one size fits all. If you're asking what particular business model that fits the analytics company, no, there is no one size fits all. We want us to study the business, and then only, the right analytics model has to be employed there. Say, for example, let me give you a couple of examples. the analytics that is used for Uber and the analytics which is used for Netflix are entirely different. For the simple reason the business are different. I hope I'm clear.
Question. So, can artificial intelligence impact fields in cybersecurity, SecOps, and do a more efficient job on detecting threats or attacks by reducing false positives?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in AI, we bring a lot of steps like image recognition. We do a lot of video analytics, and with that, we actually take many preventive measures. That means we can forecast when this attack will take place, who can make these attacks at what point of time, and if we can forecast with a reasonable amount of accuracy, we can take the preventive measures beforehand.
One more question we can take. Like, how should I start a career in cybersecurity, and do I necessarily need certification?
Over to
Okay.
Divdesh.
Yeah.
Deeptish.
So I think some part I've already answered it. So definitely anyone can start a cybersecurity career. Okay, and as I was telling, the first step is a person should go. There are two things. One is as compliance is there, and at the same time the incident response remediation. So if you are a fresher or you are just starting your career with 1 to 3 years experience, my suggestion should be you should go with the security analyst position, because that is where the most hiring are happening today. If you see any organization, they are looking for uh, resources, security analyst who will be handling the 24/7 incident response and remediation for them. So that is where the job available, and post that definitely you can go into the specialization. Now, coming back to the second part of this question, you asked that whether certification is required. So, if you ask me, certification should not be mandatory, but why it is required, I would tell you, because most of this compliance has a business compliance to meet. So, when you want to meet a business compliance, they need to show how many certified ethical hacker I have or how many CISA I have. So, if you see in that way, organization would love to have people with certified people. And if you ask me personally, I would love to have skilled with certified people. But always when it comes to at a L1 level, I would rather give more focus into in terms of skill. But when it comes to compliance and the strategy planning, definitely certification is very, very important. And without it has to be there.
Okay, so we'll take one more last question. So that is, I'm 3 years into IT. I want to move to cybersecurity. Is it possible?
Okay. Yeah, so definitely it is possible. So if you are at the initial stage of the career, and we meet a lot of people, those who are trying to, definitely we need to see, okay, that which domain you are into and what is your interest. Okay, so based on your present understanding, see, everyone may not be technically sound, but that doesn't mean that we cannot come. Okay, but there are today, if you see Google, there are a lot of reading options and studying options are available. So a person, if he has certain background in terms of understanding, so definitely with a skill upgradation, okay, with a proper hands-on, definitely they can go and change the field. But definitely the more early it is, the more the better. Okay, because once you go, I have also met few people, okay, those who come and speak, okay, I want to change now. I say, why cyber security? They say, no, I find that is something very hot topic nowadays, and it has a good career. But then, for example, they might be withdrawing certain amount of salary, and they say, if I do this course, can I get those kind of salary or a 20% jump in the salary? So there are two part of it. One is knowledge and shifting the field, other is salary. So but definitely something, if you want to change a field after working in some other field, but you want to make a career out of it, but definitely at the initial stage, my suggestion should be, we should not think about salary. We should get the opportunity, and once we get the opportunity with more experience, definitely you will get the desired salary, more salary than what you are expecting. So I would like to take it in that way.
So one is a general question. So that is like Python is enough for getting job or should I learn any other courses? It's just a general question.
Let me take this question. This question has come from Mr. Vinod Raj. I can see in the screen. The objective shouldn't be learning a language. You have to understand the language in the right perspective. Language is nothing but a tool to accomplish a data science objective, to accomplish a business analytics objective. So we have seen the rise and demise of many languages. Like in our times when we started our career, it was all about SPSS. It was all about SAS. So we have seen how they have wiped away. We have seen many languages that was a craze and that they went away. So focusing only on language is good. Yes, you may get a job, but then you will lack the required depth. You may learn how to code, but why you are coding and what happens behind the screen, what happens behind the screen in the sense what happens in the statistical domain or the machine learning part of it, you will miss the finer details. So my suggestion is that don't just do a kind of Python course, do an analytics course, and Python will be taken care within that course. But if you are interested to do just Python coding and not apply in data science, business analytics, or somewhere else, then only Python is good enough, and we offer that course as well.
I just want to add one more point. What Dr. Tuhin said, definitely, what he said is absolutely right. Only doing a programming will not just help. So we need to see what we want to do after that. So one thing, like he said about analytics, similarly in cyber security, okay, if we, for example, we have lot of platforms which we implement, okay, as a part of SOC services. Now, then we and there will be a lot of controls, okay, and a lot of rules will be there. Now, if we want to customize those, okay, definitely we require Python and other language resources with other language, so that we can customize those according to the customer requirement, and accordingly manage the manage the way we want. So definitely in that case it is required. So for example, I want to be in cyber security, and now I decided that I want to become a developer who customizes the platform and all. So in that case, during that period, if I have that in mind and then I take any of this programming, then I believe it make more sense for the individual who is taking that. And that is where also I believe Tuhin was also trying to tell that.
Okay, we have one more question. So from Abhishek, so it is like for an IT consultant with 7 years of experience and some experience in Tableau and business analysis, which roles can I target in analytics?
Well, if you have the business analysis and W experience, and then not the experience of R or Python coding of a data science, then you are more focused towards the business development part of analytics. So any of the pre-sales role, which includes the business development of analytics, getting the right clients, understanding their business, converting or translating that business into the analytics language to a data scientist, that role would be more suitable for you.
So we have, that's it. So we have reached the end of the session. So we have only.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the session. We deeply appreciate your time, your patience. I'm sure we will get another chance to meet. Have a great evening.
Definitely. Thanks everyone. Thanks Tuhin, and thanks everyone for joining this call. Definitely we will again meet sometime. And if you definitely have any queries, you can always reach out to me, okay, or you can connect with me.
Yeah, so thank you everyone. And I would like to speakers of today's session, Dr. Kulin and Deepti Shah, for their valuable information and their time. And I would also like to thank our participants for their active participation. Thank you very much. And you can always reach out to us. You can see the contact number. You can contact us. And you can even check our website on tncallied.com/training. You can follow our page www.facebook.com tncil15. And you can also see this session again in our YouTube channel, which is Institute of Technology. ENCIL group. So thank you everyone for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
तो मैंने देख ली थी।